Yo, what's up? It's Drew Mitchell. This is your daily dose of Drew. That's going to be the new thing here. This is going to be the first episode, the first video, the first daily dose of Drew. I promised y'all earlier that I would share the story of the post I mentioned earlier. I was at Starbucks this morning. I walked in the restroom and man, it was like a flashback like 2003 or something of when I had spent some time in jail over some stupid stuff. And the reason why I'm sharing this story, because it's nobody's business, but the reason I'm gonna share this story is that in hopes that one, you get to know me better, two, some of the lessons I've learned in it, hopefully I can transfer them over to you, save some energy, some mistakes, and also maybe entertain you at the same time. So rewind back to I met this girl 2002. I just come back from Maine, wrestling in college in Maine, and I was actually supposed to move out to California again with Ed Connors, Gold's Gym owner. And thanks, I got an autograph book, by the way. I'm gonna put a separate post on that either later tonight or tomorrow, my nice autograph copy. But anyway, what I did is I came back. I told Ed, he was ready to bring me back out to California. I told him, hey, I just want to stop, spend the holidays in Ohio, and then come out after like the first or the end of the year. And lo and behold, I'm at a frat party, ATO, Ohio Western University, Delaware, Ohio, representing. All football players. I played a year of football at Ohio Western, so I went back to see my boys. I'm at a frat house, frat party, and I meet this girl named Kim. And man, she's from Shaker Heights, Cleveland area, Ohio. I thought she was it, a social class out of my league. I thought she was just gorgeous. And long story short, as cheesy as this sounds, true story, I'm gonna show you all this and share the truth with you. She was kind of talking over some other guys, and I was at the top, and it was warm. It was whatever. We're in there, we're smoking weed and drinking, but I lifted my shirt up like this, and like I was wiping sweat off my face. And she looked and saw my abs and was like, oh, hell no. Like, hello. Came over, introduced herself, and the rest was all she wrote. We hit it off. Long story short, we started dating. We're dating. We dated full time. We dated for 3 years. Shouldn't have lasted that long because it was a toxic relationship. Completely transparent with you and who I was at that point. It was sex. It was the sex that kept me together, kept us together. It was an entertaining relationship. We had a lot of similarities, but a lot of differences at the same time. Fast forward, I'm working out I think it was like California Fitness Centers, way back in the day. And I'd introduced her to this dude, and he was like a sales guy there, selling memberships and stuff, and I was a personal trainer. And she started working out there in Polaris area, a pre-sale location. And long story short, she started acting weird. And I was so naive, and that's the thing, guys. Don't be naive. You gotta trust your gut, trust your instinct, trust your heart, trust your intuition. When you have, because that's your higher self talking to you. It might be God, it might be the universe. It's your higher self. It's your higher consciousness on another plane of reality, looking down below and seeing what you're going through and what you don't know, and it's telling your spirit, it's telling your soul the truth, and you need to listen to that. I think, obviously it's been a while, but I found a text message, hey, it was good seeing you the other night, when can I see you again, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what the F? Flipping out. And she made up some big BS lie about, I introduced him to my friend, and he wants to meet her again and hang out, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what? Why? Well, where was I? Why didn't you tell me this? I'm not cool with that. I'm not comfortable with that. And, she was a professional liar back then. And so that was that. But that's still, there was a seed planted. And so It's so crazy, guys. So effing crazy. The night that I found out that she was cheating on me, I had just qualified for my first ever national bodybuilding championships. I just took second place to Joe D, Mike Mike Davies' boy. I ended up later becoming one of Mike Davies' boys, winning my first show. But I just taken second place light heavyweights, Mr. Ohio, and qualified for nationals first time. Back then you had to get first or second place to qualify, and I was stoked. You know, she had been there the year before. I was a middleweight, my first show, took third, and just tackled me in the hallway, and I was so happy. But this time it wasn't even all that exciting for her. But we were going out to Applebee's with me and some of my boys, and I think like Treg and someone like Fairman and like the Chaudhrys and maybe some other people, maybe Jason Hacker, forgive me if I don't mention your name. I was a little weirded out that night and taken by surprise because my girlfriend wasn't there. And she said she had to go work on some art project. You know, she's a psychology major and a double art student or whatnot. And I'm like, what? Can't you go after we celebrate? Like, I just qualified for nationals. This is like part of my dream. Are you kidding me? I want you to take part in it. Long story short, she didn't come out to dinner. And like, I couldn't even stay there that long, man. It was just eating me up in my heart. It was just like, the victory seemed a little hollow. Like, why is my woman not with me? So, I drive to her dorm, and she's not there. And then I drive to his apartment, and her freaking car is parked in the parking lot. And like, I start blowing up both of their phones, pounding on his door, ringing like the intercom and all this stuff, and they pieced out, scared, because you know they knew I was a little crazy, a little wild at that point, that time in my life. So obviously they knew that I know that they knew that I knew. Now it's just like, okay, avoidance. No one's gonna talk to Drew anymore. So what I did is probably the next day or two, you know, I knew her schedule. I knew her class schedule. I was dating her. I knew where she was all the time. And I knew she worked in this art building, 3D building, Ohio Wesleyan, late night working on sculpture projects. And so I went out there to talk to her. Just to talk to her, like, what the F is going on? Here's lesson one. Someone cheats on you, peace out. They don't deserve you. They're not good enough for you. Don't be so insecure that you go back to them and give them a second chance. Peace out on them. Over, period, end of story. If I would have had that, you know, a lot of it's how you're raised and who's your mentors and your father figure, mother figure, you know, coaching you. Because, like, you know, I would tell my boy, listen, if a woman ever cheats on you, she's not good enough for you. You peace out on her. Don't ever talk about her again. Get over her real quick. Well, I didn't have that guidance or whatnot. So, and I was insecure, you know, and I wanted to talk to her. I go to the building, and guess what? His motorcycle's there. And I'm like, oh, it's on. And she used to smoke cigarettes, and I knew it was just a moment of time, you know, before she would want to go out and have a cigarette break, and he would be following her out there. So I just had to patiently wait. So I'm out there probably like 10 or 15 minutes. I see her like go get her bag, gets her smoke. Oh, here it comes. Like, Drew is fired up. Whew. They walk out. I'm like kind of, you know, they go out this side door. I am like 5 feet back. They have to open the door this way. So once they come out this way, probably like walk this way, shut the door, bam, here's Drew. And that's exactly how it happened, like deer in headlights. The door closes, like, before she would be like, what's going on? He looked, boom. And it was just like, boom, boom. Like, I didn't stop. And like, I don't know how many times I hit him. She's screaming, I'm calling the cops. Boom, I left. I got a free trip to jail. That was the first time. The first time I think I was only in for a few days. Gosh, Ed Connors bailed me out one of those times. So now, you know, go to court, and like I'm on like probation, like, you know, they're extending the court date, and like I'm not allowed on Ohio Wesleyan campus anymore because I'm no longer a student. I had stopped going to school there. And protection order against both of them from me. Like, I'm not allowed to be, I don't know, it was 100 feet or whatever it was. And but I wasn't done, you know, I wasn't done. Like, I don't think so. Like, so I kept kind of prowling, stalking the atmosphere, you know, driving down. I mean, I lived in Delaware. Like, you know, Ohio Wesleyan University is in Delaware. I lived not far from campus. You know, campus bars are right behind my apartment where I live. And I knew it was just a matter of time before I saw them both again. Well, freaking, I used to work out at World's Gym down there. And so after a workout, I'm coming out, you know, totally not expecting this. He's sitting on my Jeep, and he and his buddy. So he brought a friend with him. This friend wasn't too smart. He thought he was gonna like freaking linebacker tackle me, and literally when we're like freaking 15-20 feet away, starts storming at me, head down, like about to tackle me. Like I'm just gonna stand there and let him tackle me. Literally, I stepped off to the side, kneed him, and just boom, slept him. He just totally slept him. Knocked out, cold. Now this piece of crap starts walking towards me. I go, like, kind of like shoot on him, wrestling shoot, pick him up, slam him down. It's just ground and pound at that point. And this is in a little plaza, a police station literally across the street. There's a movie theater and restaurants. Cops were there in no time. Cops pull up. I mean, it felt like they were there in like a minute. And, you know, there's a big crowd around, people watching, like, please freeze, put your hands behind your head. I'm like, it was self-defense, and it was. But obviously I was in violation of the other ones and stuff. So I got my second free trip to jail. The second time was longer, and the third time was the longest. Yes, there's a third time. I think I would have learned my lesson. Well, I'll tell you, man, it got longer and worse, and the depression got worse. The longer I was in there, the more weight I lost. And, you know, I was emotionally distraught and hurt because my girlfriend of a few years had cheated on me. And then my buddy, who I thought was my buddy, he betrayed me. You know, it was just like, oh my gosh, you know. And it's like, I'll tell you what, women, any woman I ever broke your heart after this, pre that, I was just young and dumb, and I was still young and dumb for a while, but post that, any woman I broke your heart, I was afraid to trust anybody. I refused to trust anyone after that. It took me a long time to get over that. And but anyway, the third time, I don't know, let's say I'm in a couple weeks, week and a half, 2 weeks, second time. And that's when, you know, my dad, my grandpa bring me a Bible. I'm start reading Proverbs, the book of Proverbs, and the book of Psalms every day. I'm just reading. That's all I'm doing, reading, working out, keeping to myself. They respected me, fortunately, because I was big, and, you know, I'm glad I didn't have to get any fights because I didn't want to be in there any longer than I had to be. But then, you know, I finally get out, and it was like, oh, I was just so happy to see my dog Maximus. Thank God my buddy Kane and his girlfriend, I think Jennifer is her name, they watched him for me. And so I went and got Maximus right away. I went to the park and just having fun. And then, like, here I go. I'm driving. The park wasn't far from Kim's dorm. Drive by and I see his motorcycle outside of her dorm. I'm like, you know, he had just jumped me. The second encounter, he and his boy jumped me. Like, even though I got the better of him, like, it wasn't over. This was a revenge. Again, I was 22, 23 years old. I was a hothead, steroid, coked up. You know, I was a mess. And again, I had a lot of repressed, pent up anger and rage, and like, this was me, like, just getting it all out. And so this, the dorm had to have a key card. It was an all women's dorm. You know, you had to have a key card to get in. So I just patiently waited for the door to open. I'm like, oh, hey, thanks. My girlfriend's on her way to get me. Like, oh, no problem. And I walk up, and she was on the second floor. I walk up, and her door is cracked open. Because, you know, they're all friends, girls, and they leave their doors open so they can go in and talk to each other and stuff. I walk in. She's got her back turned at, like, her desk right here. And he's sitting on the bed. And I run in. And, like, I literally, like, I peek through like this, and that's when he looks up, and I just jump, boom, and it must have been so fast, like Superman, and it just out of the freaking air, just slow motion, boom, cold clock, just bam, hits his head against the wall. And Kim's like, "You're crazy. Get the F out of here. I'm calling the cops." And as soon as she said that, like, reality hit me. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I literally turned and ran to my car, which I parked a block or two over because I didn't want them to see my car. And took off. I left town. I think I went to my boy Thrush's house, and I stayed for a couple days in Marion from Delaware. And then, you know, when I thought the coast was clear because nobody reached out to me, I'm thinking, oh, it's cool, not knowing that they're watching my apartment the whole time. They knew what I drove, it was a Jeep Cherokee, and just waiting for me to pull up. And so when I thought the coast was clear, like, I remember I'd gone to the grocery store because I just my Jeep was filled with groceries. And my dog, I literally just taken my dog up. Thank God I got my dog up. Took a little groceries, put my dog up. I go back down. 5 cop cars, vroom, pull up, lights, please freeze, put your hands on the hood. And that was my third stint in there, man. And I'll tell you what, on another Daily Dose of Drew, I'll continue sharing this story because it's an amazing story of what all happened from, like, obviously the different times going in and how that unfolded, but then when I was actually in there, especially this third time, and then when I got out and just unfolded my life, it was just crazy. But I'm gonna leave you with this. My third and final time I was in there the longest. I was in there a few weeks or so. Honestly, if you've ever been in jail, one day feels like a week or a month. A week feels like a month or 6 months. And if you're in there like longer than months at a time, it feels like a year, and it's just time stands still. So it's horrible. All I did was read and write. But long story short, tell you this, and I'll tell you another part, maybe on part 2 of the Daily Dose of Drew. I was in my jail cell. You're in a cell block and then jail cell, and you're sharing, you know, you each got a cot on either side of the cell. And he was with I was with an atheist, and his parents were big Christians. And, you know, my grandfather were pastors of a Pentecostal church my whole life, raised in church. And there's this book, Joyce Meyer, Battlefield of the Mind, I kept seeing on TV commercials, going through all this stuff. I'm like, I need to buy that. I'm going to buy that. I'm going to read that. And I never did. Now this dude, he lifts up his mattress. He's like, hey man, he's like, I'm in here for a while. He was crazy. He did some really crazy stuff. But he's like, hey, you know, there's not a whole lot to read in here. We play cards, watch TV, work out, read, and sleep. And he's like, do you like to read? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. He's like, well, my parents have a whole bunch of books. And he lifted up his little thin mattress that we sleep on. And he's like, I don't know about you, man. He's like, I don't believe in God, man. You know, how the hell could God be real with all this craziness going on in the world, you know? He's like, I'm an atheist, but my parents are these, like, Bible thumper, big Christians. And he's like, they just sent me this book. They've been trying to get me to read this. He goes, you want to read this? Joyce Meyer, Battlefield of the Mind. I said, absolutely, I would love to read that. I'm going to end this chapter with your Daily Dose with Drew right there. But stay tuned because I'm going to share this story. And it gets pretty amazing. And I'll go ahead and share, boom, 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 a couple episodes. Because another book I'm going to write is called Supernatural. Because there was so many amazing events in my life that have happened since my mother passing when I was 7. And I asked God, if you're real, prove it. And he's shown me himself. And I've seen angels and demons and good and bad and like hell and heaven. And it's like he's proved himself that he's real. And the spiritual world is real. You know, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. You know, powers in the spiritual realm, like entities. Like, we're in this 3D realm. Most of y'all only see the physical realm, you know, but there's a spiritual realm. And I'm telling you, it's real. It's real. And I'm gonna get deeper into this particular story and a couple things that happened after that. But thanks for tuning in to the Daily Dose of Drew. Also coming back here as soon as the CNN, the Champion News Network. So stay tuned for new updates and your Daily Dose of Drew. Be blessed. Have a great night, y'all.